Module Overview. Land is arguably the most critical factor in agricultural production. Secure and well defined property rights and land tenure systems serve as the legal foundation for sustainable agribusiness development, investment security, food production, and rural livelihood systems. This module explores the legal frameworks, policy instruments, traditional customs, administrative institutions, and international considerations that govern land ownership, access, control, usage, and transferability in agricultural settings. This module presents a comprehensive review of the types of land tenure, legal instruments, registration systems, dispute resolution mechanisms, and emerging trends such as land digitization, climate related land reform, and land use zoning laws. It compares customary and statutory tenure systems and considers international legal instruments that influence domestic land governance. Learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to define and distinguish types of land tenure systems, analyze the legal basis of land ownership, leaseholds, and usage rights in agribusiness, evaluate statutory versus customary tenure systems and their implications, interpret key property laws and land administration frameworks, understand land titling, registration, and documentation processes, assess legal mechanisms for land acquisition, use, and transfer. Examine gender dimensions and equitable access to land resources, navigate legal procedures for resolving land conflicts and encumbrances, explore land use planning laws, environmental regulations, and expropriation rules, understand the impact of international law, investment treaties, and climate change on land rights. Foundations of land tenure in agribusiness. Definition of land tenure, legal or customary relationship between people and land. Role of tenure security in agricultural investment, rights associated with land, use rights, control rights, transfer rights, exclusion rights, impact of weak tenure on agricultural productivity and food insecurity. Types of land tenure systems. Freehold tenure, permanent and absolute ownership, legally registered with unrestricted use. Leasehold tenure, land held under contractual agreement for a fixed duration, e.g., 50 or 99 years. Customary tenure, land governed by traditional norms and administered by chiefs, elders, or community structures. Public government land, land held and managed by the state, often allocated through administrative procedures. Communal tenure, land collectively owned and used by community members. Tenant farming/sharecropping, farmers occupy land with partial or no ownership, sharing outputs or paying rent. Legal frameworks governing land tenure. Nigeria, the Land Use Act of 1978, vesting all land in the governor for public trust. Land registration, certificates of occupancy, C of O, governor's consent to land transactions. Customary versus statutory tenure conflicts. Legal instruments for leases, licenses, and conveyances. Land use zoning and agricultural land demarcation. Land titling, documentation, and registration systems. Importance of title deeds, survey plans, and land certificates in agribusiness, land administration systems, registry versus cadastre, digitization of land records and blockchain for secure land registration, legal steps to obtain land title, application, verification, survey, approval, registration, access to land and gender equity and property rights, legal barriers to women and youth in land ownership, statutory reforms supporting inclusive access, e.g., inheritance rights, marital property laws, gender responsive land policies and international commitments, e.g., CEDAW, SDGs, land acquisition and transfer procedures, voluntary transfers, sale, lease, gift, inheritance, involuntary acquisitions, government expropriation for public purpose, eminent domain, legal safeguards for compensation and resettlement, transfer protocols, consents, stamp duties, registration of deeds, dispute resolution mechanisms in land tenure. Sources of conflict, boundary disputes, overlapping claims, inheritance conflicts, squatters, statutory tribunals, land courts, customary arbitration, alternative dispute resolution, ADR. Legal remedies, injunction, specific performance, damages, cancellation of title, role of land commissions, ombudsman, and NGOS in resolving disputes. Environmental planning and land use regulations. Environmental Impact Assessments EIA for land-based agricultural projects, zoning laws for agricultural, residential, commercial, and protected areas, climate-smart land use planning and adaptation measures, land degradation laws, and anti-deforestation enforcement. International legal instruments affecting land tenure. Voluntary Guidelines on the Responsible Governance of Tenure, VGGT, by FAO. Investment treaties and bilateral investment treaties, BITs. World Bank and African Development Bank AFDB safeguards on land investments, free, prior, and informed consent FPIC in indigenous land rights, cross border land acquisitions, land grabbing, and host country legal protections. Emerging trends in land governance. Smart contracts and blockchain based land registries, land tenure and climate resilience, legal innovations to manage displacement, urban rural land pressure and agribusiness expansion into peri urban zones, use of drones and AI in land mapping and legal documentation, community land trusts and cooperative landholding models. Key takeaways. Secure land rights are foundational to agribusiness sustainability, financing, and expansion. Legal pluralism, customary versus statutory law, often creates both challenges and opportunities. Equitable land access and legal clarity empower marginalized groups and foster investment. Strong land administration systems reduce disputes, promote trust, and attract investors. Climate change, urbanization, and digital technologies are transforming land law in agriculture.